Right now on the line, we'll find Congressman Randy Hultgren, proudly representing the 14th District of Illinois. And Congressman, gotta tell you, way to make a nice move for Rockfordians in opening up that Sweden caucus.
Thank you. Yeah, we're having some fun with it, but it's actually been pretty interesting. You know, so many European nations are really struggling, especially the Southern European ones, where there's so much socialism is still such a big part of things, and so much huge government. And it's interesting, as you look at some of the Nordic countries, they've made some shifts over the last couple of years and moved more to free market. I'd like them to even move further, but they're the area that's actually doing pretty well. So it's been kind of fun pulling together. We've got a Nordic caucus and also a Swedish, the Friends of Sweden caucus that we're starting. So not a big activity, but something kind of fun that we're working on, along with all the other serious stuff that we're really working on as well.
Well, with a high degree of Swedish population here, you're getting the blue and yellow salute this morning.
One of my favorite spots is the Stockholm Inn up there. So
there you go.
The Swedish pancakes up there, and oh man, that is the best.
Well, speaking of more serious matters, Congressman, we got to start with these what look to be at best, at worst, unconstitutional, illegal recess appointments. The Senate's not in recess. The Dodd-Frank bill says this consumer watchdog has to be confirmed by the Senate, not just appointed, and everything seems to be pushing forward. What's your take on all this?
Yeah, it's very disappointing, you know, what the president has done, gone against long-standing precedent, and I think, as you said, you know, potential violations, clearly of the law and maybe of the Constitution. But we continue to be in session, you know, even we're in these district work periods, and somehow the president is ignoring that and doing a recess appointment rather than going through the process of having these people confirmed through the Senate. And it's just very frustrating. This is, you know, the Senate is controlled by Democrats. This should be able to have a full hearing, but I think he realizes that the controversial people that he wants to run some of these agencies will not receive approval from the Senate, and so he's just forcing this through. It's very unfortunate. It's going to, you know, really is I think a slap in the face of the law and our desire and commitment to abide by the law. And so it's frustrating to me. It's going to tie this all up in the courts, I think, for quite a while, and really was just disappointing as I saw it happen and trying to sneak it through the holidays here and things. Obviously, that's we're not going to let it sneak through. We're going to be talking about this because it's one of those things that points to the frustration that people have of lack of accountability of government. And it's one more time where the administration now has said we don't need to be accountable. We're just going to put our own people in.
And disappointing start to 2012. I mean, we already know it's an election year. It's going to be difficult to get things done in Washington with everyone, you know, in Congress looking for re-election and a number of senators as well. And to start the year off on a note where it appears the president's acting in his own best interests, in the interest of re-election, rather than doing what's right or legal in terms of these appointments.
Yeah, you said it exactly right. It's really a poor way to start a year where we've got some very serious problems to address, that we should be able to find ways to come together, to find some common ground. There's going to be some things we disagree on, but there's much we can agree on. When these laws are in place, we need to abide by them, and this was not a good way to start the year.
And it appears, Congressman, and you would be in a great position to comment on it, that it is basically ratcheted up what we're all looking forward. Looking forward to is probably not the best way of putting it. Anticipating a very, very ugly election season.
Well, you know, I'm always the optimist and hope that it's not going to be that way, that it really can be a debate on the issues. I think we've got serious problems, and I think there has to be a presentation of what are the ideas to solve these problems. The president has had 3 years to try and solve it. You know, 2 of those years he controlled the House, Senate, and all they did was increase spending trillions of dollars, and it's failed. You know, the policies, the stimulus, the bailouts, cash for clunkers, all of these things have failed. Now we need a chance to have an open debate, talk about the issues of how do we get people working again, how do we get this economy turned around again. So I'm still an optimist. I hope we can have that debate and not get down into the mudslinging, because we need competent people with good ideas who can implement those ideas to get this nation moving again. We got the best nation in the world, but we've got to act now. We've got to get people back at work, get families confident once again, so that we can get this economy back on track. And the only way that we do that is get small businesses growing again, and shrink the size of federal government and really shrink and go after all of the confusion and fear that's coming out of Washington, D.C., really going after our small businesses.
Congressman Randy Hultgren with us here on with Riley and Scott on WROK. I know you're also concerned about the Iran sanctions in the defense bill. Senator Mark Kirk has been talking about this as well. We're going to chat with him on Monday. What exactly did the president say? I know there's a signing statement along with the law. What did he say in that?
Yeah, this is something we've been pushing on. I still think one of the most serious threats, if not the most serious threat to our nation and our world and our friends around the world is a nuclear Iran. And they are just thumbing their nose at so much that we've done in the past, and sanctions that have really not gone far enough, or that we have not enforced far enough to really let them know how serious we are, and really taking every option we have to keep from becoming a nuclear Iran. And so what we've been pushing for, I passed a letter around, got 65 signers on that letter to have sanctions against the banks there, the government banks that are being part of the funding of this nuclear preparation, preparing for the nuclear weapons that they want to have and are pushing as quickly as they possibly can have. I was grateful to see that the president did sign that bill, and Senator Kirk was very influential in getting that language in there. So I was glad the president signed it, but then he turned right around and kind of undercut it, and it was a little bit ambiguous, but pretty much said that, he's not really sure that he's going to follow the sanctions as the law exactly states. It really goes exactly against what we need right now, which is strong words and strong actions where the Iranians and the rest of the world can see that we say what we mean and we mean what we say, rather than turn right around and undercut what just was passed. So I was glad it was passed. I was disappointed with some of the language that the president had at the signing that basically said he's already looking at not really following the letter of the law as far as the sanctions are concerned.
Well, and one of the things in the sanctions that Senator Kirk had brought up, and I see that was part of your letter as well, is the collapsing of the central bank in Iran.
Right.
Basically devaluing their currency, making things extremely, extremely difficult for them, and you do all that without firing a shot.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and it really does get the message again of how serious we are, and it goes after a key part of their viability as a government and as leadership over there, and really their ability to continue to use all of these resources to push for creating the nuclear weapons, which again would be devastating to our country, but also to some of our best friends. Israel is primary in that, but other friends that we've got across the globe that are in direct threat with that nuclear option that they would have. So we've got to do everything we can. This makes sense. It does it without firing a shot, and yet it appears that the president is kind of undercutting that or weakening what I thought was a pretty strong statement that we had sent to him.
Congressman Randy Hultgren with us here on WROK. We've talked a number of times about regulations, and federal regulations have an impact on both businesses and individuals across the country. I saw you tweet this story yesterday from the Washington Post on the EPA, trying to tell this couple in Idaho that they can't build their house on their property. What's this all about?
Yeah, it's just one more little sign. Obviously, it's huge for this family, but it's little in the scheme of things. But here for 4 years now, EPA has been blocking this couple's efforts to build a home on their own land. It's land they own, and EPA is claiming that it's sensitive wetlands that are there. It's been going on for 4 years. I just see this as a waste of resources that we've got. This is land that they've purchased, that they've wanted to build on, and have done everything properly to handle this, and yet the EPA just continues to attack them, really, and not give them the right to, really a right that we have in the Constitution of private property rights and the right to be able to do what they want to do with that, as long as it doesn't have a negative impact. And I believe strongly that they've shown that it doesn't. But the EPA is really pushing an agenda here to the detriment of this couple and really spending taxpayer dollars in a way that I think is inappropriate.
Circling back to the recess appointments, and it ties in with the EPA regulations and what the EPA is trying to do here. President yesterday in Cleveland during a speech about the appointments said this: we don't need to be lessening oversight or accountability. We need more government to look out for you. And in that one statement is really that the crux of the choice we're going to make in November. whether you think that the president's right and we need more government and more EPA and more regulations and the government should be the one to look out for you, or if, maybe you should be the one to look out for you.
Yeah, you've absolutely nailed it. And that is the decision people need to make this year. And that's why it's so important for us to be able to have a real debate, because I see it so clearly that we have a big divide. There is a group of people out there, the president, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, who absolutely believe the problem is government's not big enough, that we need a larger government to look out for you. Then there's many of us, many of the new freshmen that were just elected last year and now running for first time for re-election, and many of our presidential candidates on the Republican side that are talking about the problem isn't that we need more government. The problem is the government's too big. The government is the problem. It's not the solution. It's the problem. Ronald Reagan talked about that often, that, large government, it's, those are the scariest words anyone can hear is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help, because they end up destroying things. We see it over and over again as far as impact on small business, impact on the economy, impact on our debt. And this is the clear divide that we've got. This is where people need to make these decisions of saying, what is the role of federal government? I think there is a role, but it's limited. We need to have more power in the states and local government bodies where people can hold them more accountable. I still believe federal government potentially is the scariest form of government, just because it's least accountable. It's furthest away, and they feel like they can kind of do what they want to do with our money. And we've got to make sure that doesn't happen, that we stop that, that we have people out there who recognize that they need to be fighting for us and fighting for accountability and responsibility in federal government. And clearly the president has a very different agenda on that. He wants bigger government. He doesn't want accountability. He wants to push through these recess appointments really during a holiday time when he thinks people aren't paying attention. It's just wrong. It's got to stop. We need a change out in Washington.
And you mentioned accountability, and that flies back to the Idaho couple. Who's there to provide oversight for them? What recourse do they have? And I think that's what people get more worried about. A bigger government. At least you could hope on perhaps some congressional oversight. Here, you're on your own.
Yeah, and you think, if they can do it to them, they can do it to you.
Yep.
And we better all be aware of that if this can happen to them, it can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to our neighbor, it can happen to our family members. So this is where the risk of out-of-control, unaccountable government becomes real. It absolutely is real for this couple, and it absolutely could happen to people in our district as well. So that's why this is so important for us to be aware of this and to change it, and to say it doesn't have to be this way. We can make some real change and bring accountability back.
Congressman Randy Hultgren with us. Tomorrow we're going to chat with your former colleague in the State Senate, Tim Bivens, will be in studio with us talking.
Some Tim for me.
I certainly will. Talking some Illinois stuff, and boy, it looks like recent days the governor here, Governor Quinn, has put forth some budget projections through the next 4 or 5 years. It certainly looks as if his plan is to keep this temporary tax increase in place. Who would have thought a temporary tax increase would be permanent?
That never happens.
Oh, I know, that's right. Yeah, we were saying this all along, that taxes, once they raise taxes, they never lower them, and this is just a huge mistake. We've seen the damage that this tax increase has had on Illinois and Illinois businesses and businesses leaving the state. Anybody who's really able to leave, has a business where it doesn't necessarily matter that they're located right here in Illinois, are looking to move, and that's why this has been a huge boom to Indiana and Wisconsin and Missouri and Iowa, where we're pushing Illinois companies out. And this is, again, a major mistake for the governor now to be talking about that. They're not looking at anything as far as reducing spending. They're just looking at increasing or keeping these increased taxes that they shoved through last year. Huge mistake. Damage has already been done, but now this just makes it even worse for us to try and get our economy growing again.
All right. Congressman Randy Hultgren, as always, we appreciate your time. Look forward to talking to you again.
Hey, good to talk to you. And Scott, congratulations on your wedding coming up. Hope you have a wonderful day, and always enjoy being with you guys.
Thanks, Congressman.
By the way, Congressman, that gets you out of getting him a gift, too, right there.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Perfect. Yep.
Have a great day.
Figure it out. Thanks, guys.
All right.